Hey, welcome back to another episode of Eric's Camping Adventures. Today we're going to pull this off and do a mold test. So I have a Mold Armor do-it-yourself mold test kit. It says in 48 hours it will show some growth. So this darkened area right here is the one I want to test with my mold kit, and I'm going to try to test it on a place that I didn't actually put the bleach and just see what comes up. So right here is a piece of metal that sits here to hold the curtains, and I'm thinking that the metal was colder and just drew a little more condensation, and that is actually why it spread out from this area. Locate the visible mold growth, take the sterile swab and wipe the tip across the visual mold growth. Be sure the mold adheres to the swab tip. Very gently wipe the mold sample from the tip of the swab across the top surface of the medium on the petri dish, allowing the mold to adhere. Replace the lid. To prepare the petri dish, remove the petri dish from the plastic bag and lay it on a level surface before removing the lid. Remove the lid of the petri dish, pour the mold growth medium, that is this stuff right here, into the petri dish. Replace the lid and swirl gently until the bottom is completely covered. Allow to gel for 1 hour on a level surface before removing the lid. So I'm going to let that petri dish just sit there for 1 hour. Then we're going to take the little swabs I have sitting under there and we're going to rub it across a non-bleach treated area, that black stain, and use that for the test. It is completely behind the kitchen cabinet, so if I mess up, doesn't really matter, nobody can see it. There is not a lick of insulation in here. We'll just see how that looks when I pull the whole thing off. There are just a few staples holding it in. So this is that little arch at the edge of the camper pulled off. You can see the foam and the black cardboard, which I think might be responsible for the black marks. So we're coming around here now, and you can see that this black on the inside is the plastic fiberglass. That is the exterior shell, and there is not a lick of insulation in there. So what I'm picturing is condensation from cooking rising up into the cabinet area. A little bit of an airspace with the cabinets, and then with this here. But there is no real insulation in there in that space to prevent some really cold weather from increasing condensation that then goes back onto the black and runs down. So the swabs are not picking up any of this black behind me on the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to snip a piece of it and I'm going to stick it in the petri dish and see what grows. So we're going to wait 48 hours and see what happens with this little petri dish with the piece of fabric in it with the black stain on it. I have a feeling that it is just that black paper and the condensation that was coming back through. Probably no insulation up in this area either, just like over in the area by the kitchen. And that is probably the cause. Water condensing, hanging on that black cardboard, and then slowly leaching back through. And it probably didn't stick in the foam, it probably leached through to the fabric and stuck on the fabric. So I'm thinking this is an ink stain and not a not black mold. But we're going to let this sit for 48 hours and then I'll show you the results.
Well, I am definitely disappointed by this test. You can tell there's definitely some growth in the petri dish. Not so much on the carpet snipped from the wall and not so much by the actual swab that I placed into the petri dish, but definite exposure. And there's a lot of growth in there from being inside my camper. So the conclusion to me is ominous. The inside of the camper needs to come off. We need to look behind the walls, see what's going on, and fix that, and then clean it up nice and make it look beautiful. I guess we just have to decide where we're going to start.